Welcome to Sports Banter. This is Bryce, and I'm joined by Luca, and we're back for some basketball talk. Luca, how are you feeling right now about basketball?
I'm doing pretty good. I was looking at my UFC notes and I was like, "Oh, we're talking about basketball," and I'm sort of all confused right now. But I'm feeling good. Some teams clinched the playoffs. We're gonna talk about that. Some other teams looking good. Hawks looking good. Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you feeling about basketball?
Well, the NBA is extremely exciting right now, and that's better. I could say that's better than like how I feel about some teams, like the Pelicans. That I just
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
feel like going into it that much. But let's just kick it off with some positive news. And we're going to start off with the Brooklyn Nets and the Utah Jazz being the first two teams to clinch the NBA playoffs.
Yeah. Both teams have been dominant this year. They deserve it. Nets going 42-20. Um, who was it? The
The
Jazz. Yeah,
Jazz.
the Jazz. They're 44-17. Jazz are the best team in the league, in my opinion. They are on a 2-game losing streak, but I'm just saying overall in the season they have looked the best. Both of these teams deserve it, and it's gonna be fun watching them in the playoffs. It could be a Jazz Nets final, but I sort of doubt that. But
Yeah.
it's definitely gonna be fun.
Yeah, I doubt that, but the Nets, they've been very impressive this year. KD just got
Mhm.
back, still waiting on James Harden to come back, so we haven't really seen the Nets at their full potential. I mean, I think I saw a
Yeah,
stat that we've seen them in like only like 7 games that they've played, all three played together. KD, Kyrie, and James Harden.
that's crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Um, it's sort of going the speculation route. I'm not sure where you would want to go with this little subject, but going back to the Jazz and Nets, if it was the final, who would you have winning?
I would have the Nets. And here's why. Just
I agree.
because the the championship experience, KD's won an NBA championship with the Warriors. Kyrie's won an
Hmm.
NBA championship with the Cavaliers. And James Harden, although he
Hmm.
hasn't won an NBA championship yet, he's been to the finals with the
It's James
Oklahoma City
Harden.
Thunder. And yes, he's also
Yeah,
James freaking Harden. Like
I agree.
these
I
three
th-
bona fide studs have the experience. Donovan Mitchell hasn't had that playoff experience. Rudy Gobert hasn't had that playoff experience. Well, Gobert's been to the playoffs, just they haven't gotten too far into it.
mhm.
So that's what puts the Nets over the
Yep.
top. Although the Nets obviously have some defensive struggles.
Yeah, you're right. I think I think in a one-off game, I would actually give it to the Jazz, but in a series, I'd give it to the Nets. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, a quick note that the Rockets and Timberwolves were eliminated from the playoffs and even the play-in competition. So, they're officially eliminated. So, I mean, it's the Rockets and
Yeah.
Timberwolves. They're trash. That's why they don't get their own slide.
When will do you think the Pistons and the Magic will get eliminated soon or no?
Yeah, I think it's gonna come. It's just mathematically they're not
Yeah.
officially eliminated yet,
Yeah. Yep.
but
Yes.
it's coming.
Mhm.
It's coming. So, the next piece of news, this actually happened a couple days ago, and it was the Phoenix Suns playing the New York Knicks, and the Suns actually
Mhm.
ended the Knicks' 9-game winning streak.
Yeah, the Knicks have looked really good over that winning streak. They beat the Hawks. So I mean, if you beat the Hawks, you probably are the best team in the NBA. That's a joke. But if you couldn't tell that was a joke, but I mean, to lose your winning streak to the Suns it's okay. The Suns are one of the best teams in the league right now. So I feel like yeah, it sucks for the Knicks and the Knicks fans, but it's the Suns. Like they're first in the Pacific. It's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay. That's how I see
CP3,
that.
CP3 had an amazing shot at the end to kind of
Hmm.
proverbially put in the dagger, to make it an 8-point
Yeah, yeah.
victory for these guys. I mean, CP3, and I've talked about Chris Paul before about how he hasn't had the most impactful stats, but his late game heroics is kind of what solidifies his role on the team and like really what pushed him to be an all-star this season. And then also in this game, Devin Booker had 33 points. Like the Suns were hot in this game. And for the Knicks, Julius Randle wasn't too hot. And it was Derrick Rose that showed out with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists.
Yes. That's what I was going to bring up. Derrick Rose over the past 3 or 4 games has looked solid. He's looked very good for the Knicks. And that's great for him.
Yeah, definitely love to see him kind of change, going from an athletic specimen on the Chicago Bulls to now kind of being more crafty here on the Knicks. So, yeah, but like, as you said, I mean, both these teams are destined for great things. I mean, Phoenix is the number 2 seed in the West. The Knicks right now are the 4th seed in the East. So both of these teams highly outperforming their preseason, like, expectations. Now, moving on to some teams that really haven't been meeting their preseason expectations, it's the Dallas Mavericks. I'd say they'd exposed the Warriors in yesterday's game. In yesterday's game on the 27th.
I wouldn't go to the extent to say exposed. The Mavericks, they're an all right team. I mean, they have Donich, have you say it. And they have your boy Melly, but I wouldn't say exposed. Yes, it was high scoring, especially at halftime. They had such a big lead, but Golden State's exposed themselves over the past couple of months. They're not that good of a team.
Yeah, I mean,
now they've looked a little better in recent days, but for me, it's not that big. It's not that shocking.
No. I mean, I wasn't meaning it to be like shocking. I mean, look, it's not because of the Dallas Mavericks. It's just the Dallas Mavericks were like showing the peak of the Warriors' problems. The halftime score was 62-29. And I mean, it's not even, it's the fact that nobody was hot besides Steph Curry pretty much. I mean, we'll get to it in a bit, but Michael Mulder.
Michael Mulder. Yeah. He was good.
He was good, but he was literally the only other player that was scoring for this Warriors team besides Curry, and Curry only made 50% of his shots this game.
Yeah, it's not that great for Curry. How many points do you think Draymond Green had?
I think he had 0 or 2.
He had 0.
Yeah, I looked at the box score. I looked at that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. But I mean, shout out to Luca though. 39 points.
6 rebounds and 8 assists.
8 assists.
Yeah. You saw Nico Melli's stat line? Dude, 13 points in 12 minutes.
Man, that's good, yeah.
I don't know how. Like, this dude's really showing out on this Mavericks team. They didn't have a lot of people playing to begin. Well, they had a lot of people in the Mavericks, but not a lot of stars. Porzingis was out. I mean, it was a pretty short-handed Mavericks team, and they dominated the Warriors. And a big part of it is just that the Warriors didn't have any help besides Curry and Michael Mulder, because you had Wiggins missing a lot of shots, Oubre missing a lot of shots, Jordan Poole missing a lot of shots. Like those, especially Jordan Poole, those are guys that shouldn't be taking that many shots, especially if you're missing a lot of them. So, I mean, they're just exposed because, I mean, look, it's no kept secret, but like they have nobody outside of Steph Curry. It just makes the point stronger.
Yes. I agree with that statement.
That's why this team's 500 right now.
But in the interest of making things, interesting, I guess, Thursday, tomorrow night, they don't go against each other again. What am I talking about? Never mind, don't listen to me. Edit that out, even though that's not going to get edited. Never mind. You didn't hear me say anything.
Oh, gosh. I don't know what you were thinking when you were going there. I mean, if
I don't
you
know
want to
what I was thinking either.
Tomorrow night, they're going to play the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they could beat them.
Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. Yeah, I don't think they'll beat the Timberwolves. That'd be even worse.
Anyways, let's get away from the Warriors And we're gonna go straight into Michael Porter Jr. We kind of touched on him when when Jamal Murray.
Yeah, I got you messed up.
When Jamal Murray tore his ACL, we're like, oh, Michael Porter Jr. is gonna have a good stretch. And guess what? The last 3 games, he's had a good stretch of games.
Yeah. Yeah, he has 31, 39, 26, 39 points against the Rockets. I mean, the Rockets do suck, but I mean, that's still a lot of points. 26 against Golden State, 31 against the Grizzlies. He's been on a roll. Yeah, he's had a good season.
Yeah.
Well, for a 22-year-old, I think he's had a pretty good season. Not everyone can be incredible right when they get out of college or right when they get out of high school. So I think the role that he plays on the team, he's been good, and now that he's a starter, pretty much, he's lived up to he's exceeded expectations, I would think, over the past couple of games.
Yeah, and he's been a solid rebounder for that team too. He got 7 in the 31-point game. He had 6 in the 39-point game and 5 in the 26-point game. But he also has had a good amount of blocks in the past couple of games. So he's really showing kind of his potential outside of offense, with the blocks on defense. Surprisingly, he's only averaging 1 block per game. But it could be a testament to like a late season kind of surgence in blocking. So I really do appreciate Michael Porter Jr. He's doing a great job, especially with his work ethic, kind of with that hard work paying off. I'd like to see it pay off in the playoffs. I'd love to see this guy be that Jamal Murray from last season in the playoffs.
Yes.
I would definitely love to see it.
I agree.
I'm a fan of the player, Michael Porter Jr. He's great.
I like his name too, Porter.
Like the ports of Denver is like kind of just in the center. There's no ports. But anyways, moving on.
There's not.
The Washington Wizards. I heard a couple days ago, I was watching like NBA TV and they're like the second hottest team in the NBA, the Washington Wizards. I'm like, what? And then I looked it up. They just came off an 8-game winning streak. And they only lost overtime to the Spurs.
Yeah. And I lost the Spurs. They're a solid team. But yeah, their win streaks has been nice. To be the Thunder, Cavs, Warriors, Thunder again, Pistons, Pelicans, Kings. I mean, not like the greatest teams in the world. They beat the Jazz a few weeks ago. They have looked on it. They are really looking for that playoff spot. They're in the playoff spot right now, number 10.
Yeah,
10th,
they're
right?
in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, the play-in tournament. And in reality, I think they can reach up to the 8th seed if they keep on going the way they're going. Bradley Beal's been killing it, averaging 31 points. Russell Westbrook been killing it with the rebounds and assists. Even though this is a 2-man team in my opinion, these 2 men can take them into the playoffs like we see right now, and maybe could take them a little far in them. Maybe not too far, but they can maybe win a series. They're an interesting team to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, they really are. And I mean, like, not to take away from like Beal, but like some of these games in this 8-game winning streak, Westbrook was the one scoring points. Like Westbrook had a 37-point game. It's not all just Beal scoring and, Westbrook doing the rest. It's that Westbrook is showing up for a lot of these games and playing well.
What?
I tell you right now, if I were the Indiana Pacers at the 9th seed, I would be scared to death to potentially playing the Washington Wizards.
But you are right about Westbrook doing a lot. The game against OKC, scored 37 points. Then in that game that they lost against the Spurs, he had 22 points with 14 assists and 13 rebounds. Monster right there.
He must be dead set on averaging that triple-double because he's keep doing it.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting about the Washington Wizards team? It's that at the beginning of the season, everyone called it a failure. They started off 3-12. Everyone said this is the worst team in the NBA. The Westbrook experiment's not going to work. And right now they're in the 10th seed, fighting into the playoffs. I mean, just to see that this team never gave up and never folded, It's just very like, it's just, praiseworthy, and like that's how you got to get some fans in the stands and like fans of your team.
And looking at the top 10 teams or seed-wise in the Eastern Conference, the Wizards are exciting because I can see them reasonably beating most of these teams. I can see them beating the Pacers in a series. I can see them beating the Hornets in a series. I can see them beating the Heat, the Celtics, the Hawks, Knicks, Bucks, 76%, and that's probably not. But I'm just saying that this team has the quality and has, like you said, the determination to do well. They're going to be awesome to watch in the playoffs.
Yeah, if they make
if they stay up there, if they make it,
they could always fall down again, and
the Bulls could get them out of that space.
The Bulls have been looking on and off. I mean, even with the Vucevic trade, they've been looking more of the same, and that really stinks.
Yeah,
might be a next year thing. With the Bulls,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
They're just looking very inconsistent right now. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get out of here, Luca, you're going to be talking about the Hawks.
Of course. What not to talk about? Top of the Southeast still. Absolute beasts. We beat the Heat. John Collins looked solid in that game. We beat the Bucks 111-104. That's a big win. Bogdanovic outscored Giannis, which is awesome. But we did lose to the Pistons, 100-86. We're starting to miss Trae Young a little bit. I think he could have been able to get over 14 points that game to win. But it's positive vibes with this team I'm getting. 10 games left, 5th in the East. I think we could easily get 4th if the Knicks lose a few times, and we could keep winning and reach 3rd. But I sort of doubt any higher than 3rd. Because I don't think we'd overtake the 76ers or definitely the Nets. But yeah, I'm liking this team now. I mean, I've been on this team, but now it's starting to all come together.
Yeah. Something about Bogdanovic. He's been the leading scorer for the Hawks for the last 3 games in a row.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Yeah, he did look good in the Heat game. I just wanted to say John Collins because Collins looked really good in that too. But Bogdanovic, he was sort of missing at the start. Like him and Gallinari at the start of the season were missing a little bit, but they both looked better near the second half of the season. So it's been great. Happy for them, and hopefully they can do some magic in the playoffs and finish out this regular season well. Anything you want to say about your Pelicans?
It's more of the same. It's very inconsistent, They beat the Clippers last night because they do well against good teams and terrible against bad teams, like losing by 2 to the San Antonio Spurs. I don't know, man. This team is. I'm just ready for the season to be over for them. It's not a lot to talk about. They're not going to make the play-in tournament. They're about 3.5 games behind the Warriors, which, look, I know we talked about the Warriors earlier, but at least they're in a better situation than the Pelicans.
Yeah. What I will say about the Pelicans is that I think at least the players on the court try. Looking at the Nets game, you scored 129 points. You kept it competitive against the Nets. I will say
they tried, kinda. No, they don't try sometimes.
No.
Have you seen Eric Bledsoe play for that team?
Okay, well, I'm saying overall team. If we're calling players out, then they have Bledsoe. You could make this case for Baldwin sometimes not showing up.
No, that's completely fair. I mean, I just want better defense from this team, man. It's just bad. It sucks. But, I'm hoping for improvement, hoping for better times. I mean, we have some decent players, like some decent bench players that are kind of emerging, like Najee Marshall, Wenyen Gabriel. Those 2 guys have been kind of popping off on the bench, kind of starting to play a little well. So we're trying to find these guys that are kind of spark plugs off the bench that could really raise the energy of this team because this team is like dead. It just seems like there's nothing going for it outside of Zion, you know, and Brandon Ingram too. I mean, not to discount Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram's had a very good last couple games.
He's had a good season.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good season.
In my opinion,
and especially
he's
because
only 23.
He's got the same amount of stats as last season, but he's taking a lot more mid-range shots instead of he's going less in the paint and more in the mid-range. So the fact that he has the same production, but by attempting statistically harder shots, that's impressive.
That is impressive. I 100% agree. So if you can keep him on because I don't know what their contracts are like, but if you can keep him, if you can keep Zion, get rid of the coach, get a new coach, and just revamp the team in a way, not rebuild, but just rebrand them almost for next season. I think y'all can have a good next season.
I feel like, for this Pelicans team, you need to work in free agency. Like, make something happen. Honestly, at this point, I don't know if I really want Lonzo Ball on the team just because we could use that money somewhere else. I mean, because we're paying Steven Adams a lot. I think Bledsoe's making a good amount. And then Zion's on his rookie deal, but we just paid Brandon Ingram the max contract. So we're already like close to hitting, the luxury tax, which you don't want to hit that. Basically, we used a lot of our cap. And signing Lonzo Ball, I'm not sure that's the move, But we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you next week for some more basketball talk.